Welcome to People First Builders, celebrating leaders in construction who build success through their people. My name is Fletcher Wimbush, your host. I'm the CEO of Discover.ai, a performance hiring software helping small and mid-sized AEC companies solve their hardest problem, people. We help people first leaders install and execute repeatable talent acquisition systems that drive business results by hiring top performers, lowering turnover, and building world-class company cultures. Stick around to the end and you can learn more about how to become a guest on our podcast and share your story with the world. Welcome to the People First Builders podcast. My name is Fletcher Wimbush. I'm your host. Today I have Matt Aston. He is the founder and CEO of GPRS, Ground Penetrating Radar Systems. They're a national leader in the private utility locating and concrete scanning space. Since founding the company in 2001, Matt has grown GPRS into a coast-to-coast operation serving the construction and energy industries. With offices in nearly every major U.S. city, his leadership has given GPRS the reputation for precision, safety, innovation, and subsurface locating and utility mapping and infrastructure visualization. Matt has grown this business from a single person to over 900 folks. And has spanned a plethora of different economic times. We were just chatting about this. So I'm really curious, Matt, just a little bit about your journey first off, because it's been a long one. And again, you've experienced probably all sorts of ups and downs in the construction space in that journey, but how'd you end up in this space? Starting out as an analyst, I guess, you know, maybe more of a traditional white collar job out of college, I guess. And how'd you land in looking at things underground?
Yeah, this was not what, when I was in high school and people asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, it had nothing to do with ground penetrating radar, but it's funny how God works, and that's wasn't long after that's exactly what I was doing. So I when I was in college, I went for a corporate finance, and I thought I really wanted to work for a big company, Fortune 500 company, and just work my way into a senior leadership position, with whatever company that was. And it didn't take long after graduating and getting a job with a couple of Fortune 500 companies that I just realized this is not where I'm supposed to be. This is not my DNA. I didn't like bureaucracy. I didn't like red tape. I liked things just to do what was right because that's what made sense, not because you had to adhere to some arbitrary policy that somebody put in place. So when I was 3 years old, my dad started his own business, and they did concrete cutting and sawing. And I talked to my dad about going into business with him. I was ready to give up what I went to school for. And
had you worked in the business like when you were younger, or helped out shoveling concrete to the dump or whatever?
I sure did. Yeah. Mostly as a helper. I was. I could probably count on one hand the number of times that I was on a core drill rig, and
that's the fun part of the job, is cutting things and drilling things, right?
I never ran a flat saw, when I was or a hand saw on concrete so I was always a helper. Or when I say helper, when you drill holes in an elevated slab, someone has to go underneath and catch those cores, but so they don't drop in and hit something. Yeah. That was one of my jobs. Then using a shop vac to suck up the slurry or the water they used to cool the blades as they cut. That was another one of my jobs. But
that's very.
I had some experience there, and saw firsthand some of the dangers that are associated with cutting concrete, where you can. No one has intentions of cutting through electrical services.
Yeah,
they want to cut from point A to point B. And there was no real good way at the time to discern what was in the path of that cutting. So it was not uncommon that we would run through electrical or there would be another surprise there that would cause chaos, and it would shut the job site down, and then there would be change orders, and everybody went into panic mode. And my dad handed me this magazine when I asked him about going into business with him. He handed me a magazine, and in that magazine, there was an advertisement for a company that was making this ground penetrating radar.
Okay.
And one of the applications they identified was finding electrical services within concrete slabs. And so really around that singular application is how the idea for GPRS was born.
And that's different than like, I'm going to go, I remember I did my main water line or my main sewer line in my house, my residential property. And I called the gas company, I think, right. And they come out and they sort of look under the ground. And I think they mostly care about the gas lines, but I think any underground services they detect, right. It's a different technology, what you're dealing with.
It is. So there's 811 services, which you're required to call. It's law. So before you dig, you're supposed to call 811. And that's what they call public utility locating. So they'll come out and there's companies that have contracts to mark your gas and water, sewer, electric, et cetera. What we do is different, where, we don't care what the utility is. We'll work for the company that's going to be doing the digging or the cutting or drilling, whatever. And we'll work in conjunction with those public utility locating companies to either enhance the offering or give more detail. For example, one thing they don't do is they won't put the depth of whatever they find on the surface. Well, that's important to know. We need to know how deep something is. And there's a big difference if there is an electric line that's buried 2 foot deep as opposed to 6 foot deep.
Yeah.
You're not often digging 6 foot deep. So there is a significant difference there. The 811 services are free for the user. Yeah. The utility basically has a contract with it's
to protect the utility, right? I mean, that's obviously a pretty critical infrastructure. But so back in 2001, when this wasn't widely used, I mean, I guess a tilt-up wall or just a concrete slab and a industrial or commercial building or any building for that matter. I mean, once the utility stops at the building, they don't care. It's your problem at that point, I guess.
Yeah, that's a big piece of it. Is the public utility companies will go in the right of way, basically what's in the public's interest, and not worry about anything that's on private property. And we'll do both. Wherever the digging is going to take place, that's a key differentiator between us and the public utility companies for sure.
And that wasn't that popular back in 2001 then, where people were just guessing at that point?
No, it was funny, Fletcher. I would go to these job sites and talk to about ground penetrating radar, and they would kind of look at me like, oh, what is it you're talking about? I mean, we're not looking for a buried treasure here. We're putting a new utility system in, or we're building a building. And like that's what I'm trying to tell you is I'm using this to help assist with damage prevention, so that a lot of these mistakes that get made on job sites where people get hurt, that's what we can prevent with the use of this technology. This is going to enhance safety. This is going to make you work more efficiently, eliminate some of those surprises that we read about.
Yeah, well, I think those stories that you tell are about the guy who got electrocuted because he hit a line, or the 5-day cleanup, and that little hole that you went to go drill that turned into this gigantic, like, oh, now we had to like patch the water line or whatever it is. And, it's this huge disaster, and then the customer's mad at you, or your GC's mad at you, or whatever it is.
I promise you, we could set a record for podcast length if you let me tell all the stories that I've heard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you've been in construction for any length of time, you've probably created a disaster unintentionally. I'm sure most of them are created very unintentionally. Nobody does it on purpose, right? But they've been there, done that, and realized, oh boy, that thing that was supposed to take 5 minutes is now going to take me 2 weeks to fix, or worse. Somebody got, terribly injured, I imagine, right? So.
Oh yeah, no, it actually, going back to when I first started in the field, I performed poorly on two of the first three jobs that I was hired for. The first two out of the first three jobs in the history of GPRS, we did not execute. We failed to perform and meet the expectation the customer had. And there was the extended grace. I set the expectation that, hey, I'm new at this, but I was not ready at the time to be, charging a fee for the skill level that I
for detecting utilities.
Yeah.
So you buy a machine and you go out and you're just like, well, okay, I'm gonna tell you where everything's at, and where does it go from there?
Yeah, I trained myself a little more than that. I spent about 6 weeks, going out to different job sites and practicing, and working with my dad's concrete cutting company.
Okay.
Working with an excavator to, hey,
you had an early adopter.
Yes. But then the biggest issue, probably for the first several years, was creating that awareness, just getting people to understand and give new technology a chance. And that took some time. But we started building a customer base, and then we had a saying early on that I came up with: our best sales call is a job well done. Yeah. So the expectation with the first few guys was, hey, if you don't have a job on a given day, you got to go sell. And you got to stop by job sites. You've got to stop by offices. You have to go sell. But your best sales call is going to be that job that's well done, because that's what they're going to remember. They say, oh man, that's the guy who helped me avoid running through that 480 volt duct bank of electrical conduit. So that's the guy that kept me off close tension cables when I was drilling in that hospital. I mean, that's what really people remember experiences a lot more than they remember conversations.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously getting them to try your service and then showing them what you found and showing them like, hey, you guys were planning to go through that wall, but you might want to move over 10 feet or whatever, right? And they go, oh, yeah, thanks for finding that, right?
We had to be the bearer of bad news with some frequency. Hey, you're the plan that's proposed here, or what's on the drawing, that's not going to work because you can't drill here. You can't dig here. There's something in the way. So we've got to come up with a new plan. And that's one of the areas I think that we've grown well, where we've become far more consultative in our approach, where we can draw on experiences from the work, from how they've solved problems at other sites that we've worked at. So that's been good for GPRS over the last 20 plus years.
So you've grown to over 900 people, 25 years, across the country. You have a dispersed workforce, which can be incredibly difficult to manage and lead. At some point, I imagine there's always some growing pains when it comes to hiring, finding, retaining, inspiring, especially a dispersed workforce where people are all over the place and not, coming together in a single building. Give me early or at some point a challenge that you faced, and then let's talk about what you have done over the years to fix that.
Yeah, there's been several. I go back to 2018, and we were growing 30% year over year at that time, and the talent pool, I would say there was a lot of demand, and we probably compromised our standards a little bit on what we look for. We have a saying within our company that we hire character and we teach skill. We don't really care. I shouldn't say we don't care. We're indifferent on what background you have. Right? If you don't have experience, it does not matter to us. We can teach the skill, but we want to hire the people of high character. And we went through a patch in 2018 where we just we felt like we had to settle a little bit, for what we were bringing in, and it reflected in some performance where we did struggle through. We made some mistakes in the field that this should not have happened, and so that's a lesson learned. Is regardless of whatever situation you're in, that's one thing you cannot compromise on. Is the quality of the individual that you're putting in front of the customer.
Yeah. So I think this is a pretty common experience in the construction space, and, any given market or any given trade or any given project, that, a company gets under the gun and we're just like, you know what, I just need a body. I just need somebody to show up and do the job, right? And so they say they maybe loosen their standards a little bit, and then they go do the work, and so and then something goes wrong, and that's an opportunity cost that is sort of becomes a disaster. It's kind of like what you do, right? It's like, well, if you drill through the wrong spot, that was a 5-minute job or a 10-minute job or a 1-hour job turns into a 2-week disaster. That same kind of problem, opportunity cost issue occurs, right? So that was something that you guys experienced back in 2018. It sounds like.
Yeah, it's just that you have that short-term relief of, okay, you filled the position, but you're probably going to have to fill it again.
Do you think it cost you customers, or
on a temporary basis? I think it did. Yeah. We hold our people to a high standard. We expect elite level performance. We do not settle, for.
Well, you really can't be wrong, right?
You're correct. We can't. Last year, I'm proud to say, we did 120,000 jobs across the country.
Wow.
And our reported incident rate of error was about 0.1%. So
wow. Yeah.
Very strong performance.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, you guys are sort of this interesting microcosm of like how important it is to get it right the first time. Measure twice, cut once. Old adage, right?
Yeah.
Because getting it wrong is just so costly from a time or safety or customer satisfaction, perspective. It just has all these terrible kind of side effects to missing the mark, quite literally, right?
Yeah, and having people understand that if not only if you perform poorly on a job, it does a cost as a customer, but it costs the whole team opportunity. Our field team, they're all on an incentive-based compensation program. So if you drive a customer away, you're hurting your team. And
the reputation, right? So when I go call on the next job or the next contractor, they go like, "Hey, my buddy used you guys over there, and it was a disaster." I imagine you have competition, right? We can always call the other guy, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's we invest a lot in the hiring process. Several interviews. We do ride-alongs before we extend offers. And then there's probably 3 to 4 months of training where we'll bring people back to. We built a training center. We're headquartered in Toledo, Ohio, and we built the training center here. With a simulated. It's 3,200 square foot concrete slab that nice. We built.
We've put all sorts of booby traps in there.
all sorts. The University of Toledo has given us access to their full campus to do real world training. It's a 400-acre campus. That's 15 minutes from our.
They got like orange spray paint all over the place. We're chalk.
We are. We're conscientious of making a mess. But a lot of the information they want. I mean, they're going to be digging as well. So.
I'm joking. I just could imagine this like campus totally marked up.
Right? But we put a lot into training and then ongoing training as well. It's not just, hey, there's this regimented schedule, and once you hit the last day of training, you're out and on your own. No, we do an assessment, and if someone needs a little longer time, we don't want them to be out there working on their own until we're confident that they're going to deliver that elite level performance that we expect.
Yeah. So I'm curious. I mean, there must be some competition, but I mean, it sounds like when you started this, it's probably a relatively new concept to be doing this kind of work. And 25 years later, I would imagine it's much more common that contractors are calling in you or somebody like you to go do this work for them. So does that mean that there's not a lot of people trained to do this type of work then? You're hiring for characters or intangible qualities versus, hey, Fletcher has used that equipment. He's gone out, he's done this work before, I guess, or where do you find your talent in that sense? How are you targeting people?
We have I just had lunch a couple hours ago with a group of new project managers that came into GPRS. Our field team, we don't call them technicians. We call them project managers. So they are 99% of the time, they are our only representative on that site they're working at. So, but I just had lunch with a group of, we got 10 new project managers here for training right now. And I asked that not one of them had any prior experience with ground penetrating radar.
Yeah.
And I asked the two guys leading the training class, if they prefer, training people that have some experience or not. And they said they actually prefer training people that don't have any experience. And the reason for that is they don't have to break any bad habits. They can get them operating. We developed a process that we call SIM. It stands for subsurface investigation methodology.
Okay.
And not having to break any old habits, we can just get them ingrained in our process, right out of the gate. And that's proven to be more successful than people who are kind of stuck on their own way of doing things from the prior experience they have.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's interesting to think about. And Travelers has an interesting survey they put out every year. It's around work comp, but I think it relates to this because it's like 46% of all claims, work comp claims, and therefore injuries. Some of them are questionably fraudulent, but many of them are real as well, right? Come from people who've been on the job for less than 1 year. But that's regardless of experience. So this is just the construction space. It's varying numbers across other industries, on average 34%. And so imagine this: you hire an experienced electrician or plumber or carpenter or concrete trade, and they have is equal amount of chance of getting hurt on the job as that person who's never done that job before, regardless of that experience. And I think it plays into that. Hey, the people come with habits. They may not be bad habits. They're just different habits. Let's just, another way to maybe characterize that than how that other new organization operates. And getting people to change their habits from one organization to the next can be quite difficult. I've had to lose weight or quit smoking, right? Or eat healthier, exercise more after not exercising. Those are just my own experiences, right, in life. And those are incredibly difficult habits to change. Hey.
Yeah. Well, the other piece now that we, over the last 8 years, we've begun acquiring some of our competitors.
Yeah.
So, when we do that, we bring their field team over, and we have to, it's a process. You can't make the conversion on day one, but hey, that way that you do it, that's not quite how we do it here. And we're not going to force you into doing it our way, out of the gate. But our results have been extremely strong, and we like the way this is done. And I'm not saying that we're not open to learning from any company that we do acquire. We've acquired some great talent, and we have implemented a few things that have come from companies that we've acquired. But there's also that concern, how much time and effort did they put into training? How skilled are these people that we're putting in front of the customer on day one, once that acquisition closes? So that's a.
So do you ultimately have an aggressive kind of retraining program and obviously as you mentioned, it's a very delicate conversation and process to go through when you're doing that. A little different than hiring somebody cold off the street who's never done this before, is just eager and is a sponge, but you're still having to sort of retrain these people. And some get on the bus and some don't, I imagine.
That's correct. Yes. Some, I would say, most do fine, but there are some that just say, "Hey, look, the way you guys do this, it's not for me," and they go away, and we can figure that out. But it's you said it earlier. We are either right or we are wrong, and either one is going to be exposed.
Yeah.
So we cannot risk anything short of that elite level performance that we described.
So how do you think this translates to the rest of the construction industry? I mean, what you do is so black and white, right? I mean, it is just one of those things. Like you're selling that you're always going to be right, that this is never going to be wrong, because it is such an important thing to not be wrong about, right? But it's so true in everything else in construction. I mean, like if I'm going to build you that building, you got to be right. You got to do it right. Now, I don't know if we always experience that same level of commitment to being right or wrong when you hire a plumber or a carpenter or finish, carpenter. Maybe the quality isn't as good as perfect as we would have expected. How do we translate this to the other trades, and what can we learn from your lessons in having and not really having a choice but to be perfect?
Yeah, I would say, really what it comes down to is your reputation is going to catch up with you. And so the companies that don't drive accountability, that don't drive performance, that accept mediocrity, they're here and they're going to be gone. And so I think if you look at the companies that endure, it is those companies that embrace accountability, that are looking for ways to innovate and be more efficient and drive accountability and create opportunity, and that's really, I think, that what how maybe a short-term loss.
Yeah.
If you lose on a low bid contract or whatever.
Yeah.
But ultimately, those companies that accept mediocrity and take the shortcuts, they are not going to be the ones that endure long term.
And you highlighted it with your example in 2018, maybe loosening some standards around who you hired, and how that had negative side effects. And, it sounds like obviously you guys have done a lot. You stopped that, but that becomes a snowball effect, and just in the same way, and whatever standard you're loosening, whether it's who you hire, how you train, how you onboard, quality of work that you expect or that you demand, the outcome.
I'll tell you what we did. It worked really well. Yeah. We went to our team and said, look, we've built a team of exceptional people.
Yeah.
And, we're growing at an incredible rate. Yeah. Why don't you all give us recommendations of people that that would be good fits onto the team? And we created a referral program where if we have someone within GPRS who refers someone else who becomes a part of GPRS, then we pay a referral bonus, and it's substantial. And that way, no one's going to recommend someone that they're not fully confident in. They don't want to put their own reputation on the line to recommend someone just for a short-term referral bonus. I mean, it kind of works the same way. Your reputation's at stake here, and so they're going to recommend people that they know what it takes to be successful here, and they're going to recommend people that are going to fit that bill and be able to run at our pace and perform at the level we expect. That's been a huge game changer for us. We still have a internal recruiting team where we are outbound calling and looking for exceptional people to bring into our organization, but I would say.
And what percentage of your new hires each year do you think come from referrals?
Close to half.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
How many hires you making a year typically?
Probably 120 this year.
Yeah. So that's a lot of hires, and for half of them to come from referrals. I mean, the bonus is interesting, and I've always kind of like to be a little controversial about it. I say, forget the bonus. Like, people aren't doing this for the money. Like, yeah, the money's nice, right? And you always get the HR person who says, well, we offer them a bunch of money. They're just going to send us a bunch of garbage. I mean, but you just called that out, right? Like, if you have a great culture and a great team, there's sort of this built-in accountability. Like, yeah, I kind of want the bonus, but like, it's more that I like working here, and that I actually think my friend from from high school is actually a pretty good guy, and him and I think alike, and I think he might be good here. So that my own reputation is more important than the money, or me just sending frivolous people over just for the sake of trying to capture that bonus, right?
That is what we have experienced in the time that we've put this program in place.
Yeah. And that just happened naturally, I assume.
Yeah. Am I going to say that we're batting 1,000? No, I'm not. But
do you hire everybody that's referred in?
No, we do not.
So how do you vet them?
Yeah, we just like we vet anyone else. I mean,
that's
a series of interviews, and we have ride-alongs, and there's a whole process that I have sort of premium amount of confidence in our HR team and our recruiting team to take care of that. And then ultimately our field leadership team, they have final say on who joins their team. And, they've done an incredible job. Building their teams.
So you're the poster child for how to run a great employee referral program that drives high quality hires on a consistent basis. Obviously, a huge number.
GPRS is a poster child for it. Me personally, I don't want to take that credit. But.
Well, that's fair. Yeah. But I like how you highlight how they go through the same process, right? And that this natural kind of accountability is built in this process. And just because somebody's referred doesn't mean they're automatically a shoe-in. They got to go through the process. And doesn't mean all of them are going to make it. And doesn't mean all of them end up being phenomenal hires either. Right. But I would imagine, do you know what the stats are on that? I mean, there are some global stats, like 87% of hires made from referrals are considered good to great, than compared to hires made off of job boards, for example.
I am sure we have that data somewhere.
Yeah.
I would be making it up if I quoted it off the tip of my tongue.
Your gut tells you, though, it's pretty good, or?
Yes. I would say this is one thing I will say. You went back to, you mentioned injuries in the first year in a job.
Yep.
I think once we get our field team to more than 1 year of time spent in the field, our retention climbs up to mid 90s percent year over year. The people that we lose are usually in their first 18 months or so in the field.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because there is a huge correlation between turnover and injuries, and it's hard to say. I mean, there's statistically the correlation is just strong as can be. And we can then make some anecdotal kind of justifications. Well, they haven't been on the job, they haven't been trained, they're not as maybe indoctrinated in processes. So there's lots of kind of logical connections on why those two statistics are so correlated. But it's interesting that, you're tracking that retention correlation. If I can get you to 18 months, then the chances that you stay with me for an extended period of time, which means you probably get better at your job, you like it here, you enhance the culture within the organization, you're more likely to refer more people, right? More productive, make more money, all these positive outcomes, right?
I've had these conversations before.
Just a little bit, right? Yeah. I mean, I literally think about this stuff every day, all day, and my wife tells me I talk about it in my sleep, but no, I love this connection. I mean, this is such a great example what your organization has been able to do in terms of highlighting some of these great statistics that are out there. You guys are living, walking proof that it can be done. And so that's why I like to invite people like you onto this show, is to say, to be able to show to other people, look, it can be done, right? You don't have to have a 300% turnover rate. You don't have to have an excessively high EMOD. You don't have to be constantly digging yourself out of a hole that's a disaster, or taking low bid projects, right? Because you're desperate. It's this vicious cycle that occurs when these things aren't working right.
I'll say that there's two things that maybe we're a little unique with that we do that helps to drive some of that. I mentioned the incentive-based compensation program. That's one where I would say 30 to 50% of their gross annual compensation will come in the form of bonus based on productivity, accuracy, total performance in the field. And then secondly, one of the things that we do at GPRS is a little bit different. We are very focused on creating this team of teams culture, where one team with many different groups all working towards one common goal, unified in our pursuit of that goal. And one of those unifying bonds is not everyone. We don't pressure anyone to do this, but we certainly give every single person the opportunity to do this, and that's have a direct ownership stake, a direct equity stake in the company, where I think you care about something more if you have some hand in the performance of it. If you can control the outcome of a bit, and so we opened up that opportunity in 2020 to our entire company.
Are you doing ESOP, or is it a profit share, or it's just straight like equity share acquisition?
Yes.
Wow.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And they see a dividend then when the end of the year. Is that at their business unit or at the company level, or? We
don't pay dividends.
Okay.
We're private equity owned.
Okay.
So at the next private equity sale, they will
they'll be able to participate and liquidate shares that So you have a clear path. You guys, we're going to grow and we're going to get our next exit, and there's a plan and there's a timeline that you're targeting, you're hoping for, and that should be worth X per share then. Yeah.
So there's no guarantee of what those shares are going to be worth, but we've grown to we're just over 200 million in revenue, and I'm supremely confident that we can drive this to $1 billion a year in annual revenue or more. So
that's amazing. Well, I think that's a really good way to get people aligned with being a private equity backed company, because I would think many people will be a little bit gun shy or like uncertain or not sure that that's the kind of organization they want to be a part of, but giving them the opportunity to be owners and that they get to be a part of that exit plan, right? And that they're going to have, an event that occurs for them just as much as it is for, say, you and the other stakeholders that are part of it. That's pretty amazing.
This is what I would say about being a private equity backed business. This is our third private equity partner, and there's one thing that each of the three partners we've have in common: they play to win.
Yeah,
and they're not interested in 10% annual growth. I mean, they want to win, and when we offer this ownership opportunity to our entire organization, their investment appreciates at the exact same rate. There's no difference in class of stock.
Yeah.
So their investment appreciates.
Yeah, their stock's worth as much as your stock, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I don't think I've ever heard that. I'm sure others have maybe done that, but that's the first time I've heard of that. So that's a really interesting approach, and having that. And again, I think it helps align, right? I could see a lot of private equity deals not going well, not being received well by the team. And this kind of gives the team a reason to be like, this actually is a good idea. We want to be part of this, right?
It's been great and we have about 30% of our people are part of that program. So
that's amazing.
It's been great for us. Yeah.
Well, okay. I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I do want to know what your hiring process is. So when you do find somebody, whether they're, from a referral, or it sounds like you're headhunting a little bit, you guys are calling, knocking on doors. I'm sure you're running ads, doing some other things as well. But when you do find somebody, tell us what the process is. I'm curious what's been so successful here. It sounds like it's a pretty thorough process.
Yeah, several interviews. The human resources are involved. Our recruiting team is involved initially. Then we've got our field leadership. So it starts with an area manager. They will oversee uh, one market or part of one market. If it's a larger market like Southern California, we have 4 area managers in Southern.
Yeah, how many people on a area manager's team, for
10.
example? 10. Okay, so
10,
it sort of max out about 10 people. Yeah.
right. Yeah, and then the area managers are really responsible for for team care, for performance, but making sure their guys are good, their guys are trained, and they raise that level of performance with those guys who are out delivering the service on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And then once we're above the area manager, we have a field services director, and he will oversee a team of area managers that oversees a team of project managers. So each of those, from recruiting to area manager to HR to field service director, they each have a process. And then we also require ride-alongs. So before, what we do is unique, and a lot of people don't have experiences we talked about. So before we hire a project manager, we say, hey, take a half a day and go ride with one of our project managers, go to a job or two and see if it's something that you would think that you would enjoy doing, something you think you could be really good at. And that's really the process. Then there's about a 3 to 4 month training process usually before we go live. And then after that, I think one of the key differentiators that has helped us achieve the level of performance we have is we have a leadership development program. In the last 7 years, we've gone from 200 people in our organization to over 900 now. And one of the benefits of being in a growing company like that is each year with that growth, new positions are created that did not exist the year before. Yeah. And as we look for people to fill those roles, we're failing those people if we've done nothing to develop them, to put them in those roles. If you've never led and you have no training in leadership, then that's probably a recipe for disaster. So we have a leadership development program that we start early on. It's a voluntary program. And then it starts at a 100 level. There's a 200 level, 300 level.
So like a leadership university inside your organization. Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
One of my good friends, 24-year Navy SEAL, and one of the capstones to that program is a 30-hour hell week where you're there with 15 to 20 other people from GPRS, and you're put through a simulated Navy SEAL hell week.
There you go.
And it just
teaches you to be resilient and deal with adversity and to lead through hard times, right?
Well, and to be part of a team. Yeah. If you try to go through this as an individual, you're going to fail. Yeah. But if you go through with a team mentality, then that's what's really going to drive, and it's going to bring up those around you. That's what's going to drive success in that program is it working together as a team and not just as a group of individuals trying to compete with one another.
Yeah. And I imagine, so you have sort of a structured way of interviewing throughout each of those steps. And then obviously you have a ride along, which is really important, right? Does the person see themselves in this job? And obviously after we spend some time with you in the field, do we see you being a fit in this job? And then the lengthy training process, I imagine people wash out there if they're ultimately not a fit. So as much as that is developing them, it's also part of the hiring process, right?
Some will self-select out, and others will just have to sit down with them and say, hey, look, I'm not sure what it is that you're supposed to be doing, but I am sure it's not supposed to, that this is not.
Well, you're going to find success somewhere else in life, right? And maybe not here. We're really doing you a favor here.
Right.
I mean, that must be incredibly expensive. Do you have a number that you assigned to that to get somebody from, hired to, ready to go out in the field? I mean, that's not a small investment.
Off the top of my head, I would say it's probably $25,000.
Yeah. So that's an extensive amount of, capital resources, time, human resources, people, trainers, colleagues, other project managers, fields area managers, all investing their time and emotional energy into these new hires, right? To see them be successful and ultimately, hopefully, get them engaged.
We moved into a new headquarters about 2.5 years ago, and on our wall there's some sayings from different people in the organization, and one of them is from me. I walk past it almost every day, and it says, "You cannot have an exceptional business if you don't have exceptional people."
Yeah,
and that's really what we're striving for. Is we want to be an exceptional company, but to do that, we need exceptional people, and we have to invest in them heavily. We have to train them well. We've got to have them prepared and ready to go, not just for what they're doing, but really for what their next is as well. And that's what we're trying to do at GPRS to really drive performance and create leaders in our organization.
Well, as human beings, we all want to strive to grow. Exceptional people, exceptional performers are really driven towards personal and professional growth. So having that leadership program, having that emphasis there are all ways to help nurture and foster and strengthen the ones that really believe in that themselves, and it helps you retain those. It sounds like obviously you've seen that success.
If you ask me, what have we done extremely well over the last 20 years, I would say A, built the team, but B, we have retained our core, maybe better than any company that I've ever been exposed to.
Yeah.
Where once you become part of that core of the organization, it's rare that people leave. Maybe with an exception for, we've had a few people, key pieces of that core retire.
Yeah.
But outside of that, we don't see people leave.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's an incredible story, Matt. I mean, I really appreciate you sharing. I think there's so many lessons for everybody who got to listen, who gets to listen to this. And we'll be sharing this with as many people as we can in both short form, long form, on YouTube, on social media, all those places. Where can people find you?
So we spend a lot of money on internet advertising. So if you Google GPRS, we're bound to come up, but Our website is gprsinc.com. We're also very active on LinkedIn. If you search GPRS and you find the red square with GPRS logo inside of it, you're at the right place.
Well, with what is it, 0.001 or something fail rate?
0.1%, yeah.
0.1%, right? Fail rate. I mean, it sounds like I would trust you to, make sure that I don't step on a utility or drill or dig into the wrong place. So, definitely makes a lot of sense what you all do. And if you're a contractor, obviously, great organization to reach out to and great resource, but also a great organization to learn about how to strengthen your own, people processes. Because at the end of the day, we're all really ultimately in the people business. We couldn't do it without them, right?
No doubt. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Matt, thank you for being on.
I really appreciated the opportunity and enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to our People First Builders podcast. If you're a successful construction CEO and would like to tell your story on this program, please visit our podcast homepage, FletcherWimbush.com/peoplefirstbuilders, or check it out in the notes below. If you got something out of this interview and would like to share the episode on the socials, we always appreciate that. Just take a quick screenshot with your phone, text it to a friend, or post it to the socials. If you know someone who might be a great guest, tag them on social and let them know. And don't forget, #PeopleFirstBuilders. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. We're regularly putting out new content. To make sure that you don't miss out on any episodes, go ahead and hit subscribe on your favorite podcast channel. Your thumbs up and ratings and reviews go a long way to help promote the show and mean a lot to me and my team. Want to know more? Go to our website, FletcherWimbush.com, or follow me on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.